What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on War Room Sports TV. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Dev McMillan, and I'm at the round table as usual with my partners. We got Jimmy the Blueprint in the building. What up, Jim?
What's up, people? Man, everything good, man. How you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Excited about this one. We also got B. Austin at the table as well. What up, B?
Yo, hashtag protect Mikey Williams. Y'all know what I'm talking about. No.
All right. But we also have a special guest at the table with us. Joining us today inside the War Room is Michell, author of the visionary novel What Follows, graduate, and former men's basketball team member at the illustrious Howard University. Y'all know what it is. His book, which was written throughout 2018 and 2019 and ultimately published in September of 2019, is currently picking up a lot of steam and tons of acclaim, especially with the decision of Makur Maker, a five-star hoops prospect and a top 20 ranked player in the class of 2020, not only, promising to his intent to attend an HBCU, but to choose, Tony B and my alma mater of Howard University as well. So, Tony, thanks for coming to chop it up in the war room with us, man. How you been, brother?
Man, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here with you fellas and to be in the war room, man. This is such an honor. I truly appreciate you. And I got to get into HU,
Yeah.
Word. Let them know.
So, look, man,
Make all the Hampton Institute folks salty.
Right.
Yeah.
We also have to throw that in there. So, look, man, we're going to dive right into this because I want to let you know, first of all, how much of a page turner this book was. Jimmy, he's the biggest reader of everybody here. He read the book before we even got the book. We didn't even know he was reading the book. And he told me that he finished it in 3 days. And I'm sitting here like, I got a lot of kids running around my house. 3 days, I'm not going to be able to do that. I even told Tony the same thing. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to finish it in 3 days. I finished it in 2 days. I put it down. Like I really ignored my kids for like 2 days and just read the book. So
that was like a vacation.
Right. So we talked about it in the intro a little bit, how you'd been writing the book since 2018. It was published in 2019, but what was your inspiration for even having the thought of putting this to paper, and how long ago did you have that thought?
Man, first of all, this is something that's not new in regards to the whole what if, right. What if elite black athletes were to go to an HBCU over PWI? I'm sure you guys have had this conversation years ago. I've had this conversation. My uncle used to talk about it. We've heard about it on shows. So that part of it is nothing new, but actually playing at an HBCU, where I played at Howard University and just living the experience, I used to say to myself, man, there has to be something more. Everybody keeps saying what if, or, imagine if. I was like, what else can be done about it? We keep saying what if, we keep saying imagine this, imagine that, and nothing changes. So I wanted to do something that could actually bring on change. And the idea that I came up with was to actually tell the story of it happening. I'm like, okay, if we haven't seen it happening yet, let's tell a fictional story of it happening. And therefore our youth can see wow, this could really be something if I, as that particular player, made that decision, or if a group of my friends and I made this decision, so that they had something visually to see and could see what could come from such a decision. So in short, to answer your question, I wanted to turn the what if into something actually tangible. Right.
No, with Makur Maker making that decision to do it. Now, I don't know, if he's read the book, shout out to him. I hope he has. If not, we'll make sure we get you a copy of that so you can read it and kind of see what you're in for.
Mandatory.
But right. But what we've always talked about here is it's going to take, a really brave kid to be the one to step out there and at least try to start this trend. Because it's kind of easy for us to talk about because we're we're grown. All four of us have lived the HBCU experience, but it's hard to put that kind of weight on a 17, 18-year-old kid, and expect them to want to basically put on for his whole race. That's why I'm so excited about, the decision he made. Jim?
The beauty.
Yeah. So the question I have is this, right? So, well, is this your only book that you've written? That's the first question. And did you always want to become an author? Because the book was an excellent book. Like, I didn't go to Howard. I went to Lincoln University. So I did have the HBCU experience. So, but reading the book, I literally wanted to go back to school just for a minute because, because of
don't incriminate yourself.
No, but all right, outside of that part, right? I guess the best compliment you can give an author is that their book made you feel something. Pause. Like, whether it's any sort of emotion, whether it's sad, angry, happy, excited, and your book like put me through a range of emotions. Right. Specifically with Pops, man. I don't want to give anything away, but when Pops was giving his speeches like Furious Styles, got me kind of like riled up. And then what happens with Pops? So anyway, my question to you is about being an author. Is that something that you always wanted to do, or it just came apart with this book? Like, this book came up and you was like, I had this idea and I want to write, or is writing something that you always done?
Man, great question, Jimmy. First off, this was my first book, first off. And then secondly, no, I had no intention to ever be an author, to write at all. Not at all. My intent from the beginning was, like I said, when I came up with that whole, what can I do about this? What if? How can we do something, in regards to just simply not just saying, what if? Doing the story is what it's just like. My intent was I wanted to bring it to life. So I wanted to have this told across all platforms, book, movie, TV series, Netflix series, stage play, whatever it might be. I wanted the kids to be able to see this across all different platforms to try to bring this into existence. So what's so funny is the book part was essentially just to put the idea out there on paper and to establish it as, hey, this is the story that I want to tell. This is the best, vehicle to put it out there initially, and then all the rest can follow after that. But to answer your question, that's as simple as it is right there.
That would be a fire Netflix series. I got one more quick question, Dev. The way you describe Kia, man, makes her sound amazing. I just want to know, who was the inspiration for Kia and what's her @name?
Every
shout out to all HBCU yes.
Who's ever stepped foot on the yard. I can answer that for you, Tony.
Thank you. I'll allow him to answer that for me.
Steve will come up with that @name. That's all. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, B. Austin.
Yo, man. Shout out to the beautiful young women for all of the ages that have walked across that yard and every other yard of every other HBCU. We appreciate you and the influence you've had on our brother Tony Michell, and including your goddesshood in this book. Tony, mine is more of a comment. F the police. So if you read the book, you understand why I say that, and it's relevant to today's times. But the beauty of art and kind of what you created kind of takes me back to why I was so excited for Wakanda and the Black Panther. In and of itself, it's like, okay, you got a book, you got a story. It's up to interpretation, whether it's good or it's bad or whatever. But the bottom line is you're creating something that our children can see themselves in and take bits and pieces, both consciously and subconsciously, and live through it and apply it to their lives. So often our stories aren't told by us, and no one would be more qualified to tell the story than someone such as yourself who has actually lived it and just kind of expanding on it. So that really is what made me excited about your story is the fact that, just like Black Panther, you're telling a story that can become a reality. Now, we know Black Panther is fiction, right? But to have little kids running around and saying, I'm Black Panther, I'm in Wakanda land as opposed to I'm Superman or I'm Spider-Man. That's a beautiful thing, and that contains us into Makur Maker and yo, protect Mikey hashtag. So I'm just thankful for you putting that pen to paper and coming up with that for us essentially.
Man, I appreciate that so much, B. And one thing I wanted to say in regards to Makur Maker is I was actually there during homecoming. You know, his official visit was during homecoming, which was literally
that'll do it every time. Why haven't they done that before? Sorry, my bad.
Man, that was literally like 1 month after my book came out. So I was there on campus promoting my book. You know, ran into the head coach Ken Blankley. It told me to, you know, come check him out in the gym. So I went in the gym and got to see his workout. And it was just a thrill. I took some, you know, great video footage of it. I posted some of the video footage on social media. And then afterwards, I did a IG story, and Maker actually reposted that story to his story. So that was pretty cool. So, you know, like, hopefully, like you said, hopefully he has the book, or the book might have inspired him, whatever the case. But all I know is right after that homecoming, he, you know, reposted that story on IG. So that definitely made me feel good. And then here we are, you know, approaching a year later, to see that he's the one that actually makes that decision. And then of all places goes to Howard. That's what's so crazy to me, you guys. The fact that this book came out in 2019, and in the book, the players go to Howard. And now in real life, Maker, the first 5-star athlete, just like in the book, to make this decision is going to Howard University. Like, what are the chances?
Kind of mind-blowing. Sticking with the book a little bit, and like Jimmy said, we don't want to give too much away, because we definitely want everybody watching and everybody listening to go out and purchase a copy and read it, because it's well worth it. Some of the themes that, you know, readers of the book might pick up on, a lot of socio-political type themes. Like Jimmy said, Pops and some of the speeches that he gave, aka Coach Knight. Were you purposely trying to get some of that across? You know, because like I said, we're all HBCU grads, so we know what's going on in this country with Black people, with the police, with inequality, and, you know, just the oppression that we've seen throughout our lives and throughout Black people's time here in America. Like, were you purposely trying to get those themes across as kind of a secondary to your story?
Actually, it was a huge part of the story, Devin, because you ask yourself this. One of the major things that went into the whole what if, or, you know, how can we get, you know, these athletes to go to an HBCU over a PWI, when the PWIs had these big arenas and, you know, the glitz and glamour, the, you know, the chances to go to the pro, nationally televised games and all of that. So I said to myself, okay, so if I'm going to do a story about this actually happening, I need to make it realistic as to what makes this first group of kids go.
Right.
So in order to make these group of kids go, and like you said, you know, without giving too much of the story away, I chose to go the social justice route. So obviously an incident happens, a social justice incident happens to Chance Knight's, the #1 player in the nation. Something, you know, an incident happens that inspires him to go to an HBCU. And in the book, I've incorporated a lot of different things, like the whole, because it was during the time period during the Colin Kaepernick with the anthem kneeling. So the anthem kneeling was big during that time in the NFL, and the whole Colin Kaepernick story. And I incorporated that in the book, where the players were in, you know, honoring Cap by kneeling before the games and such. And so I just wanted it to be a realistic situation, something that could happen in real life that would cause a #1 athlete or a group of 5-star athletes to make this decision. And what's so crazy about that is, I mean, unfortunately, with what's going on, you know, with George Floyd and just over the years, all of the numerous just murder, essentially, of unarmed Black men by the police, that is a theme in my book. As a matter of fact, as you guys know, the opening scene to my book is an incident like that. And so I had to have it be something that was realistic. And that's what's so crazy about what's going on now. Even though it was a tragic event, and of course you don't want anything like that to happen, the results of this horrendous event, I mean, look at the results that are happening now and the social justice change and movement that you're starting to see. And now you're having these kids like Mikey Williams talk about they're going to go to an HBCU, or Makur actually going to an HBCU. So how crazy is that in my book in 2019, that's what caused them to go. And then now in real life, that's what's causing all this to come up now. It's just crazy.
Right now, I think if there is a movement to be made, it's going to be right off the back of pride because of, what they're seeing on TV right now every day. Like Jimmy said, like the book kind of makes you run through the whole gamut of emotions. Started off heavy. So it's like there's a sad component to that. There was anger involved. There was a lot of laughter. Like, I'm not going to front. I shed a couple thug tears and had a couple of parts. There were parts that made me, like I was watching TV, like jump up and cheer. And I think with it being Howard University, with that being involved, it just made it so much more real to me. So I'm like really rooting, like this stuff is really going on. But
when I finished, I was wondering what they was doing. Like, I wonder what Chance doing right now. Like, and I forgot they were real. I'm like, yo, these people not real, yo.
You trying to see what Chance doing in the bubble. Like, what he eating in the bubble.
These people ain't real, yo.
Right.
So, when Makur Maker did, when he came out a couple of weeks ago and actually gave us his intentions publicly, like, how surreal was that moment for you, being as though you wrote the book, first of all? Second of all, like you just said, you were there while he was visiting campus during homecoming. Like, how surreal was that feeling when he actually ended up making that decision?
Man, Devin, let me tell you, I found out from everybody else, because on social media, I've been preaching it. I've been preaching it at Howard, ever since the book came out. I've done just numerous posts. So the instant that it happened, I started getting all these texts. People were tagging me and stuff. I was like, what's going on? And everybody kept telling me and tagging me about what had happened. And it was surreal is the perfect word to describe it. Right. And I'm just like, it's absolutely amazing. And the fact that it's the same school, first 5-star athlete, it's just unbelievable. Now, what I want to happen next, because the key point in my book too is, we can talk about this later if you want, but in regards to being able to create that change. And when I say that change, I'm talking about as far as actually winning, like actually being able to do something, win, get in the NCAA tournament and do something. So in my book, it's a group of them that go. So let's just say in my book, it's the Super 7, but we'll just say Fab 5, just because everybody's familiar with the Fab 5. So let's say that Fab 5 of Makurs go. Imagine 4 more Makurs joining him at Howard University. Then you're talking about now what just happened with Makur. This is major. This is the start of that. This is the start of the others coming too. Mm-hmm. But just imagine when we get to the point when Fab 5 of them are coming together. We're talking about that team can win the whole thing. Right.
And that's why, in the past couple of weeks, the three of us, we've been talking a lot about Mikey Williams, because, he's been loud on social media as of late.
And proud, loud and proud.
About his prospects of possibly going to an HBCU as well. Now, the fact that his mom is a Hampton grad, she might not let him go to Howard. But at the same time, either way, it's progress, wherever he ends up going, if he does it. We look to him. I don't know why. He's a little younger. He's a little more outspoken. He's a little more flamboyant. So it seems like his pull is a little bit bigger right now than Maker's. So if he does indeed do it, even if he doesn't, even if they change the NBA rule and he ends up skipping straight to the NBA, I think his words and all the promotion that he's given HBCUs right now, he could be the one to get these other guys to join in groups Hope is out there.
Couple reasons in my mind why Mikey could be even more impactful than Maker is he's a guard, and it is definitely a guard dominated game at this point, making him more relatable to what I guess folks would call the relevant generation, or his relevancy is
Maker got them guard skills too, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he definitely would throw you in the mixer and pop a J on that S. But I feel like Mike is more relatable. I feel like his presence on social media, Mikey has a charisma and a reach that even extends itself beyond Maker. And we're talking about a kid that's like 12 years old, so it's funny. I'm hopeful that even the noise that he's making on social media, it's like a pebble being thrown in the ocean, and that wave only grows. And folks will ride it, because if to see one major athlete, let alone 5, come into the MEAC or come into the HBCU universe, it has the implications of changing things on the NCAA landscape potentially forever. My concern is, are there nefarious forces out there that will fight and resist that? And what does that mean? And how does that look?
Of course. And they're already going to start fighting it. The quote unquote powers that be do not want this to happen. You know what I'm saying? But,
right.
Besides what you're saying about Mikey and him being a mouthpiece and all that, the biggest part of this is going to be Maker coming into Howard, having a great season, and still, even if he's going to go to one and done route, still getting to his ultimate goal. Then the kids are going to see, like, I can still do that and still get to the NBA. As soon as he shows them that, I think, the exodus could be on. Here's a question, though, Tony, because we've heard pushback from some people. I've even had an argument with somebody who's saying that doing it, these kids will be doing themselves. Yeah, these kids will be doing themselves a disservice because they're not going to the university that has all the television rights and the big facilities and the 20,000 person arena and the boosters and all that kind of stuff. Like, what would you say to those people at this point?
Yeah, no, great question. And that's one of the main pushbacks you get in C. And the thing that I immediately say to them is, why do you think those schools have that stuff? Why does Duke and Kentucky have that right now? It's because of us. So once the shift
free labor.
Yeah, exactly. Once the shift changes and they come home and they come to the HBCUs, where in the world do you think the TVs and ESPN and everybody is going to want to be, and where the TV contracts will ultimately go, where the revenue will ultimately go, where the new arenas will ultimately go? I mean, it would change. B, you hit it on the nail when you said change the landscape of college sports. It would change it forever, man. And the reason, think about it, back in the day, we couldn't even go to those schools. Kentucky was one of the last schools to integrate, to even allow us to come play at Kentucky. They have their court and arena is named after Adolph Rupp. Are you kidding me? You're going there, you're going and playing for Kentucky, playing on a court named after a known racist. You're not only making millions for Kentucky while you're there playing for them, when you then leave and go to the NBA, these dudes are donating millions back to Kentucky, where they went 1 year. And what's so funny, what's ironic about this is, I'm sure you guys have heard by now, Boogie Cousins, he came out, I believe it was just yesterday, or I know it was getting close to the lot yesterday, where Boogie Cousins is pushing hard for Mikey Williams now to go to an HBCU. And he's even saying he wished that he would have made that decision now and everything, Chris
Paul is vocal. Carmelo Anthony is vocal. I'm thinking LeBron may, he's going to check with his handlers and he may become vocal. And the wave in the NBA, if that wave links up, it could become a reality. It could definitely become a reality.
I just want to tell you, that I appreciate the way that you talked about Kentucky in the book and those words you put in there. Have you ever read that book, $40 Million Slave?
It's so funny that you said that because I just referenced it in a post that I just did. To answer your question, I have not read it, but I have heard amazing things about it. I've heard the Fab Five, what if a Fab Five? I heard that quote is in there. The author of that book, Mr. Roden, he actually mentioned me in a
I saw that.
Yeah, in a comment just the other day, in the article that he did for ESPN, he mentioned me in the same. I was pumped up because it was in the exact same sentence as Chris Paul. So I was pumped up. But yeah, it was such an honor to be mentioned by him. And so I did a post about that and was talking about his book, $40 Million Slaves.
It's funny that you haven't read that because I thought for sure you did based upon reading your book, because a lot of the history and things you talk about within that book are encompassed in the $40 Million Slave.
Wow.
Which is an amazing
it shows
book.
you that he just thinks the same way, same type of mind state.
Yeah.
No, but not only, Mr. Roden, we saw, like I said in the beginning, in the intro, that, your book is picking up steam, getting a lot of attention after this decision has been made. So you talk about that comment, like you said, you were mentioned in the exact same sentence as Chris Paul, who's about to possibly do a documentary on this same type of subject.
Mm-hmm.
John Miller wrote a piece about you on the Undefeated. Yeah. You're in the war room, the great war room right now. So no, this is steam.
Legendary.
This is steam that I feel a book like this needs to pick up. Like, I really think everybody who's had this thought, who's had this conversation, who talked about the what ifs, no matter when it was, how long ago it was, or if it was just recently, I think everybody needs to read this because it kind of, like Tony was saying, it kind of answers the what ifs, gives you tangible scenarios to look forward to. Mm-hmm. And, it just seemed so real to me. It seems like maybe in 10, 20 years, like, even though those names are names that you pretty much made up, like, people are going to be able to go back to this book and say, like, this was the start of this. Like, this is what happened.
This is definitely a Netflix series. Like, without question, this is definitely a series. And I hope that comes to fruition for you. Yeah, because it's Spring Hill Entertainment. This is definitely a Netflix series in the making. It has like a lot of, reminds you of All American a little bit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I think this can be an amazing series. And I like to see who they cast for Kia. But, she's not even real though, Dev. But but no, I actually think that they could happen, and I'm glad that you're getting all the pub that you're getting now, because I could only imagine, like, when I tweet something and I see somebody, like, share my thought somewhere else, I feel some type way about it. So I can only imagine the feeling like, yo, I wrote this. Like, I can only imagine the feeling because you want everybody in the world to know that you wrote this last year.
Man, exactly. And
like, this isn't riding the wave. Like, you did this already.
And it's crazy because I sent out a tweet in, I believe, I gotta go back and look at my post, but I'm almost positive it was January. I want to say it was January of this year, January 2020. I sent out a post about the whole, Netflix. This would make a great Netflix, make a great movie, and imagine it being done by an HBCU producer, having a HBCU cast, just like HBCU everything. And Terrence J actually retweeted that, and that was back in January of this year. So that was pretty cool. One thing I wanted to touch on,
what Chadwick is doing, man. He famous on the monitor. See what he do.
Exactly.
A little too old to be Chance though, but I mean, he might want to produce it.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to point out though is you had it was one of you that mentioned it. I can't remember which one, but you brought up LeBron James. So imagine this, like, it's already getting a lot of attention with the kids themselves actually saying stuff, and some of the NBA players are now coming out. But imagine the hype this whole movement would get if LeBron James' son Bronny ends up doing it. And if I'm not mistaken, Bronny's the same year as Mikey Williams, if I'm not mistaken. So imagine if that class, that 2023 class, ends up going somewhere as a Fab Five. Imagine the hype around that.
Right, and we've also heard some rumors about Bronny throwing some HBCUs in his mix at this point. Not sure if the rumors are founded on anything or if they're just, you know, people just making up stories to jump on this wave.
He's trying to be,
but I hope that it's, you know, I hope that it's something. But what I really hope is that even though this 2023 class might pick up some steam and might be the ones to really make that change, you know, I'm kind of hoping that it happens before that, though. Like Maker does it. Hey, and hopefully he still, I don't know if Coach Blakely has some scholarships left, but, you know, maybe he can convince somebody to come with him or at least convince some guys to do something next year, spread it out throughout the MEAC, the SWAC. I'm just excited about the whole prospect, man, because you brought up the whole Kentucky thing.
Culture. And
Kentucky was actually a part of the game that kind of shifted the paradigm in college basketball. We kind of celebrate that because Texas Western threw out 5 black players and beat Kentucky in the national championship. But at the same time, I always say it kind of backfired on us because after that happened, a lot of schools were willing to segregate, you know, on their basketball team. They were willing to recruit black kids, and it's kind of been a wrap for us ever since. Exactly. So a proud moment kind of backfired on us, but I'm here for it, and I want to see it reverse and go back to what it's supposed to be.
That is it speaks to something that we talk about all the time on our show with, you know, the struggle and plight of black people in America and over we could say diasporans. You know, the fight for independence versus acceptance, or independence versus assimilation. You know, the thought is that when you desegregate or you come together, that you are accepted on an equal basis. Nah, they just want to be able to exploit the talent and entertain by it and generate revenue through it. That doesn't mean that the power structure is changing. That doesn't mean that the resources and the revenues are going into the community where these young men come from or that they represent. And so that's what makes this so powerful, you know, for us, because we know why HBCUs were created. There's no denying it. We know the tie that they have to our communities, and we know what NCAA basketball, NCAA sports in general means both to the world and to the national stage, but also to our communities, and the way that education and academia are a focus for, you know, black colleges and universities. You know, when you're going to an HBCU, you can't just be an athlete, right? You've got to be socially aware. You've got to be, you know, at some level academically aware and focused. And so, you know, this could be a cultural shift for student athletes, you know, and so that's what makes this thing so beautiful, man.
And I think that's something that you mentioned, Tony, is important in this whole story, which is once these guys get to the pros, this is who they're giving their money back to, right? That part isn't talked about enough. That part isn't talked about enough. But it also reminds me, for those of us that have, you know, matriculated through an HBCU, that have been to an HBCU, understand the culture of an HBCU, it's incumbent upon all of us to give back, right? So I don't care whether you went to Cheney, Lincoln, Howard, Hampton, FAMU, wherever you went, Morehouse, a lot of us have to do better too in terms of what we give back to those universities, because that's just very important. It's important also if we're going to get into the big time sports to have the conversation about boosters, because it's a reality, right? We could try to act like it's not a reality, but it is a reality. So the one thing about Makur Maker and what's going on is he has a whole community behind him. Because he's going to Howard, but it's so much bigger than Howard. Because I have friends that went to HBCUs all across the country, and everybody celebrated.
Right. And so, as competitive as we all are with each other, we still look at it like it's one victory for everybody.
Listen, all of our homies that went to Hampton, they was celebrating because it's bigger. It's bigger than, like, you know,
It's
just
bigger
one
than
school to one
our
player.
institution. Yeah.
They're gonna take a couple ass whippings this season, but they were happy for it.
Shout out to all the Hampton
I
folks.
love y'all, man.
But I'm just saying, like, so I think that's a conversation that needs to be had too, in terms of, and I know it's going to be a lot of people who went to HBCUs who watch this video. We all have to, do our part. So it's not, just about getting the athletes, but all of us have to do our part.
I'm glad you said that. I want to shout out my boy Jeremy Randall. He told me, I don't know if you guys know him or not, but he told me to shout out to say hi to you guys. Is what I'm trying to say. Jeremy Randall.
What up, Jeremy?
I thought about him because what you just said in regards to donating and giving back. Jeremy Randall, he actually runs that as far as like the donations that go back to the school and everything. So. People you can make donations through Jeremy, and he'll give you all the information and everything. So I'm glad you brought that up so I could shout him out.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Shout out to Jeremy. All right. Last thing before we get you out of here, just real quick, just a kind of where do we go from here? We talked about some things and what it could look like, in order to get other people to do this. Tony, I know you believe in it. You believe in it. So just using your imagination, how do you think it'll look in the next 5 years?
So it's all about the whole progress you had mentioned before. So I think back to when I was there at Howard for the homecoming. Mm-hmm. Maker was there during that time, but either a few days before or a few days after, I can't remember which one it was. Josh Christopher, who was another top 10 player, he might even have been top 5, was there on his visit as well. He ended up, unfortunately, choosing Arizona State, I believe. But we had 2 5-star athletes, nationally ranked, top 10 5-star athletes visiting Howard within like the same week or two of each other. Right. And that's a 50% sign rate right there because we got one of them. Right. So what that means is the progress for next year, if we had, think about it, we had 2 5-stars this year and 1 committed. So next year, let's say we have 5 or 6 that visit, and 3 of them commit. That's where I see this going. That's where I see the steam picking up. And already, players have already started transferring. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but Morgan State is loaded up.
Yeah, they just got Sharon Wright Jr.
Yes, yes, they got people transferring. They got 4-star athletes coming. Norfolk State has some fellas going there too. So I see this thing, I see it being a snowball effect. That's what I'm hoping and praying for, and that's what I actually see happening. And the next big thing that I think you're going to see, and I think you're going to see it soon, is the whole Fab 5 thing that I'm talking about. Just like in my book, 5 of them or 7 of them, whatever the case is, all going at once, because that's where you can see the real change. Because a squad like that, could go ahead and get in the NCAA and do some serious damage. And one other thing I want to point out as far as where I see this going, one of the things that I mentioned in the book towards the end, as far as future, as far as obviously basketball is the best sport for it to start, because like I said, you can go at an HBCU, a D1 HBCU like Howard, you can go right to the tournament, NCAA tournament, and win the actual national title. Right. For other sports, certain changes have to happen first, like football and such, but
football, you got to build the program and get into it's much harder. Yeah.
Exactly. But I see it happening, and you're already starting to see some signs of that. I'm sure you guys saw the other day where the #1 ranked football high school player in the nation narrowed his schools down to 7 or 6, whatever it is, and Howard was one of them. So that's where I see this thing going, fellas, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. One last thing. One thing that I forgot to mention, I cannot leave my ladies out, man. And that's another reason why, in regards to the Netflix series, I think it could be huge, because you could spin it off into so many different seasons in regards to the women doing it and everything and this and that. But I think that you're going to start to see this with the women big time as well.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful. That would be a beautiful thing to see it across the board. And I know that on another sport, soccer. Shout out to Coach Philip Jow. He's been trying for the last 3 seasons to resurrect Howard's soccer program, because at one time competed for and won the national championship in I believe it was 1973, and he's trying to revisit that and recruit and get top level
shout out to Coach
soccer
Lincoln
talent
Phillips.
in.
Yes.
We've had the coach of that team.
Shout out to yeah. So it could be tide turning, man. It is tide to know. We're not going to say it could be. It is tide turning.
Yes.
No, and the culture of basketball and sports today, because you guys talked about people joining up and deciding to make that trek together. That's very feasible because we're in that culture right now. They do it in the NBA, so that's very possible.
Tony, I have one question for you before we get you out of here. Is in terms of like book writing, after you finish this project, did it inspire you to want to put the pen and paper again or write more books? Because you do have a talent there. Like I said, your book was very moving in a lot of different ways. So I just wonder whether you got the writing book. It
really didn't seem like a first time author type book. I feel you, Jim.
Thank you, guys. I truly appreciate that. Yeah, great question, Jimmy. I've actually had a bunch of people come to me and say, man, when's part 2 coming? Or when are you going to do the ladies version of it and this and that? And I want to be honest with you, my goal right now is to take from this story and go have it be on a bigger platform, like a Netflix. And then and then I could possibly focus on doing those additional stories right now. But right now, while this subject is hot, because as you fellas know, it takes a long time to actually write the book and everything. So while this is hot and out there, I just want to take it to that next level, like
Absolutely.
right now.
Jimmy knows because Jimmy is a 2-time author himself.
Yeah. So I know what goes into writing a book. So I totally get it. I'm just trying to see what that volleyball team looks like. But go ahead, Dad.
I have been jotting down book notes for the past 8 years.
Yeah, I'm still waiting. I'm Dad's supposed to write a book together years ago.
I can't lock in. It's just
it does take a commitment. It does take a commitment, but I just want you to know that you do have a talent there. Like you have a talent there because you were able to tell a story. And like I said, draw emotion out of the reader. So there's talent there.
And one thing I want to say, and I appreciate that so much. I truly appreciate you. All of you. But that was important to me when I was telling this story, because think about it. I was a basketball player, telling it from a basketball player's perspective, writing it about basketball. I wanted this story to cater to everybody. I wanted women to be able to read this story as well as the guys, and as well as the fellas. I wanted the older generation, the younger generation to be able to enjoy this story. And that's why I incorporated so many different things. I mean, as you guys know, this story, you have a love story. You have love story within there, love triangle.
Man, everything's in there, man. Listen, I'm still trying to figure out whether Walt's brother's okay. Like right now today, is Walt's brother okay? Like, I mean, that's what's on my mind right now.
Universal appeal.
Yeah.
No doubt, man. No doubt. All right, so Tony, this is what we usually do before our guests leave the war room. We basically allow them a second to basically do their commercials, what we call it. So, tell us what's next. We talked about it a little bit. Yeah. Let everybody know where they can find the book and,
find you on social media.
Yes,
everything.
Absolutely.
No, your commercial.
Guys. Yep, the book is right here. What Follows? It's called What Follows by Antonio Michell. And my social media, please go visit me at IG. It's What Follows Book, at What Follows Book. So my IG at What Follows Book. My let's see, my Twitter is 5 stars. Go to Hbcu. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm lying, you guys. Hold on. Yes, that's right.
Just send us all of your social media links, and we'll put it in the description box of the episode, so people can go down there and click on it and go to all your different social media. So we want to make sure they get in contact with you.
Perfect, man.
And you can get the book at it's whatfollowsbook.com. Like you just
whatfollowsbook.com. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Nobles, Target, Walmart. Yes, but I know a lot of people get it right off of Amazon.
All right. And what we'll do also, we'll throw it on the website for a while. And, when they click right on the ad, it'll go right to where they can purchase the book. We family.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Because, we definitely want to thank you for coming on and having this great conversation with us, Tony. Man, your book is truly a prophetic work.
It's a blessing.
I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It's a prophetic work of art, and we hope Maker's Decision is just the start of a whole lot of things to come. You're definitely War Room family, so you're welcome back at any time to talk about, whatever in this realm that you want to talk about with us. So thank you again, man.
When Netflix picks it up, you got to come back in.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, man.
Yes.
and when they casting for like sports talk dudes,
Oh nah, y'all
With an old head.
we're gonna come read for
Old head.
that. We're gonna be the sports talk people on the show. So
y'all got
give us a shout out when you get your Emmy. That's all.
Man, absolutely. I got y'all. War Room.
No, I'm trying to be on the set because the set is going to be HU. So never mind. That might not be.
You know, I got you, man. You know I got you.
all right.
No, Antonio, my wife doesn't want that. No, I can't.
All right, look, man.
Jimmy, I'm gonna introduce you to whoever's playing Kia's role on the set for sure.
She's got to be of age,
no doubt.
even if she playing.
Yeah. Hey, she's going to college. Go ahead.
I just want to, thank everybody else out there for joining us for another episode of Inside the War Room, brought to you by War Room Sports on War Room Sports TV. Y'all can check out everything we're doing over at the hub, warroomsports.com. And like you said, like we just said, you'll even find a link to Tony's book, What Follows, right there on the website. So for my co-host, Jimmy the Blueprint, and B. Austin, the HBC, y'all know what it is, man. We're signing off here, but like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. And we'll see you chumps on top.
Peace.
Peace.